right hand side of the tree more or less the same, so that querying that particular tree becomes much faster, right? And that is also recursively correct in terms of all its child nodes and their child nodes, grandchildren nodes, and so on, right? So it is a balanced tree structure, but it is not a binary tree, right? It is sort of like a binary tree in the sense that left hand sides are smaller, right hand sides are larger, but it is a more generalized form of a binary. On top of that, one thing to remember is B tree actually uh, requires a significant amount of space. So usually it can be up to half empty when we are designing that particular data structure. And that also means that um, since it's a balanced binary tree, for those of you who have implemented auto balancing trees or AVL trees or what have you, you, you know that inserting a new data sometimes requires that we rebalance the tree to make sure that it is still a balanced tree. So inserting and deleting data from that tree can be slow, so keep that in mind. But once we have that, querying data from that tree becomes really fast. And the performance benefits from using this tree as an index for our queries vastly outweigh the cost if we had just done a linear file scan. Okay. So a binary tree usually looks something like this. Each node would have a bunch of values and pointers. So essentially pointer value, pointer value, pointer value, pointer value, and so on. And let's assume for simplification that it has about n children per node. And let's say that n is fixed for now, but that is not necessary, right? I mean, n can also be variable. So let's say that you're searching for a particular value. So these are all your values, right? So K1, K2, K3, and so on. So let's say that you're searching for a particular value Kx. So what you would do is you would compare Kx to K1. If Kx is smaller than K1, you would follow, say that, okay, I'm going to follow the pointer P1, because everything that is smaller than K1 is with P1. If K1 is larger than, if Kx is larger than K1, then we would look at K2. Is it smaller than K2 or larger than K2? If it is smaller than K2, we will follow P2. So it is larger than K1 and smaller than K2. So we will follow P2. If it is larger than K2 but smaller than K3, we will follow P3 or the pointer to 3, and so on, right? So that is how a binary tree sort of maintains its data. It is not just the left hand side and the right hand side. It has many buckets, and each bucket has its own pointer. And essentially we can actually compare those buckets and then actually follow along the actual pointer, right? So each of those nodes, you can imagine that each of those nodes can be a bunch of index values or attribute values that we can use to compare and contrast and figure out which path to follow. So for example, if we were searching for that account number, that select star from account, what was the account number, A20 something. So it is, let's say A201. We will compare that is A201. Let's say that this is an index built upon account IDs. We will say is A201 less than or greater than K1, where K1 is maybe, let's say, A101, right? We saw that A201 is greater than K1. We will look at K2. Let's say that K2 is A151. We say that it is larger than K2. We check K3. Let's say that K3 is A251. So we say that yes, we will follow the path that is from P3, which points to that particular location for all values that are larger than A151 and all values less than A251, right? So you can imagine that each of those nodes can then be stored in a particular file system, right? And if we want, we can read that entire block from that particular file system, and we just read the entire tree like that. So you can imagine that, for example, let's say that we have 4 kilobyte blocks, right? So for 4 kilobyte blocks, let's say that we have 500 nodes as 500, we allow 500 children per node. So the root can have 500 children. Each of those children can have their own 500 children, and so on, with their different values. So imagine the situation, let's say that we have about 4 kilobyte blocks, then we can actually cram in a lot of those nodes or not lot of those attributes for our tree into those blocks, right? So uh, let's say that we have a table that has about, I don't know, 50 billion rows, right? Not uh, not an uncommon thing though. So let's say that we have 50 billion rows, and essentially we are allowing 500 nodes per as child nodes per node, per parent node. So if each node has the ability to have like 500 child nodes, any ideas if I have 50 billion rows, any ideas how many levels of my tree would that be? If each row has like 500 child nodes, how many comparisons would we need to make in order to access a particular row? Well, it actually ends up being like 4 levels of the tree. Just by just doing 4 different checks, we can access one of 50 billion rows quite easily, right? So that is the power of a B plus tree or a B tree when we are using basically any sort of a search tree for that matter, in order to store the data, basically to reduce the number of comparisons required to access a particular value. Okay, so um, well, for leaf nodes, I'm not going to go over these things that much, but essentially there is one distinction between leaf nodes and non-leaf nodes in a B tree. But I guess you guys should already know about that from data structures. But in essence, for a leaf node, every node, every pointer, so you can see that the first pointer here is P1 and Pn is the last pointer. So Pn actually points to the next leaf node, and then we can follow along the entire next leaf node to get Pn there and get to the next sibling leaf node and so on. So once we have reached a particular leaf node, this data structure has this quite nice benefit that you can then just read it sequentially one after the other in a sorted order, right? And again, whenever we are designing a B tree, no two leaves would have overlapping ranges, right? Because that would spoil our decision-making system. Okay. So for non-leaf nodes, again, essentially, as I said, it is a pointer value, pointer value, pointer value combination. We don't talk about that too much, but in essence, let's take an example. Let's say that we have a B tree with n equals to 3. That means that there are 3 possible child nodes for every node, right? So you can see that if I'm searching for, let's say, Brighton, right? So let's say I'm searching for Brighton. I would just say that this particular B tree is designed with branch names. So I will compare Brighton to Pereridge. Well, okay, Brighton is less than Pereridge. So I will follow this route. Mianus is greater than Brighton. So I will follow the left-hand side. And finally, I reach Brighton. So let's look at another example. Let's say that I'm looking for round, or let's say that Redwood, right? So Redwood. So I'm comparing Redwood with Pereridge. Well, it is greater than Pereridge. So I follow the rightmost pointer. And then because it is greater, I follow the rightmost pointer. If it is less than, I would follow the left-handmost pointer. Then I find this Redwood. So Redwood is equal to Redwood. So whenever something is equal to Redwood, equal to the key itself, in a B tree, we just follow the greater than node as well. So we follow the greater than node and we reach Redwood, right? So we can see that instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if we had to search for Redwood, we would have had to make at least 5 comparisons. But here we are only making 2 comparisons, right? To get to the actual row of Redwood. Okay. Does this make sense? This B tree thing? Okay. Another thing that we need to remember is we should never use large strings for indexing. We will talk about this. We will mainly talk about prefix compression in a second, but we really do not want to have large enough strings to basically access as key value pairs for our data, because that would make, so the larger the key, that would mean that there are smaller possibilities of having comparisons that are going to make your tree broader, and it would actually make your tree much more deeper. And we want our tree to be as shallow as possible so as to reduce the number of lookups that we want to make in order to get to a particular row. Okay. So access paths. So remember that we talked about access paths a bit before. So essentially, whenever we have an index, then whenever your database is figuring out what plan to execute a particular query. So let's say that for this query, oh, A5. So select star from account where account ID is A591. And let's say that I have made an index on account ID. So account ID is an attribute that we have made an index for using that B-tree concept. And then we say that, you know what, execute this particular query. Now that we have made an index, now your database query planner has the ability to see that, okay, instead of actually scanning through the data, I can create an execution plan. That is, I will look at that table that is account. I need account. So, okay, fine. I have the account. And from there, I need to select the account ID that is A591. Well, it then looks into the metadata of the table that it knows that, okay, I have an index. What index do I have? Well, I have the index on account ID. So it then labels this particular query as, you know what, when you see this particular query, you perform an index scan instead of a file scan because we have a stored index for it. And that would make this a much faster query. So that is where indexes actually help out the query planner in figuring out the faster path in actually processing your query. Okay. Okay, so databases automatically create some indexes for you. Mainly whenever you have a primary key or a foreign key, your database would actually create indexes for those particular attributes. They can also be used for faster referential integrity constraint checks. So if foreign keys are also indexed, my primary keys are also indexed, it would be really quick to check from the B tree for the primary key and the B tree for the foreign key to match if they are in um, um, if they are in conjunction with each other, right? Okay, and many of our queries actually, whenever we are working with these primary keys and foreign keys and sort of those things, many of the joins that we perform are using these indexes behind the scenes for you. And that is what makes your database much faster. Okay, so however, sometimes you can imagine that we are not going to always query based on a primary key. Sometimes we might query something like select star from account where balance is greater than 3000. So in that situation, balance is not a primary key and that particular attribute is not indexed. So now we need to question ourselves that if we want to actually execute this query, now this would require an entire file scan, right? Because we need to figure out the entire balance. We need to find the block that has the data that is balance has greater than 3000 and then retrieve those values, right? Now we can do one thing. We can basically build an index based on balance. Now, essentially, we can then say that, you know what, I have built this index for balance, and you would ask the database to use the balance index for the query in order to make it much faster. So we have the ability to create additional indexes for our tables, but you'd have to ask yourself whether creating an index for a particular attribute is actually required or useful or not, essentially. Okay, so before we get to that, let's look at a really cool query that is the explain command. So whenever we write a query that is select star, and this is